got a call from Dave Knoll, gosh, probably back in November. And he said, will you meet up with me? I have a housing question to ask you. And Dave was dreaming big about helping a family that had been burned out of their home in Malden. We put together a team of people and we talked about moving a manufactured home onto a lot down in Malden, and we soon started to discover that that was going to be very expensive, even when we had someone willing to donate a lot to us. And then all of a sudden this house in Oakdale came up right before Christmas, probably a week or two before Christmas. And it was listed for $72,000. And we thought that could be within our reach. However, we were in the middle of the Christmas project and we didn't have all the money. So we could not put in a cash offer for this house. In the meantime, it went under contract and we lost out on that house. And it really was a perfect house, we thought. But God had other plans. What was cool was that first buyer backed out. I think it was a couple days after New Year's that it came back on the market. So we put a team together. We went down and looked at the house and realized that this was a great house for the Castillo family. Long story short, we were one of 4 offers. Susan Baldwin, our director of communications, put together a beautiful letter. So we got the house for the Castillos.
Doug Weinrich sent out a text message to a whole bunch of people about who would be willing to volunteer to help this family out, the Castillos. I was like talking to Doug, who's going to do the kitchen? And he's like, well, that's a good idea, a good question, because we don't really know. And so I told him that, well, I know how to do things like this. So I told him that I would go ahead and take care of that. With my background, not only in law enforcement, but I have a background in construction as well. I figured this would be a perfect opportunity for me to do some servantship. There was a lot of things that needed to be done to the house, and it was really great to see the team that we had working the first day that I was there. Just the fellowship and just everybody has their own talents, right? Their own gifts.
The very first time going down to paint was on a Saturday with Dr. Nathan, and I'd say it was a little bit overwhelming in that here is a pretty good sized house that needed paint pretty badly.
I had never been down to Oakdale or to Malden. I talked to Doug about going down to help out with painting. That seemed like a relatively easy thing for me to help with on a Saturday, and he paired me up with Ed Schultz.
And so that's what we did. That Saturday we painted ceiling and 2-coated all the walls, and we had a great time. It was nice visiting and got to know Maria and the younger of the 2 children.
The Castillo family was amazing. Their kids, Alex and Diego, were just energy bunnies. We had the joy of telling them, shut the door. It was about 25 degrees outside.
We developed this little jingle, close the door and don't touch the paint. Close the door and don't touch the paint. This is a cooperative effort. There were a number of people who put in oodles of hours and time and not just giving of their time, but giving of quality kind of time.
I was just thinking, how God gave me this gift and how He's utilizing that gift to spread His grace with the Castillos. But then I also thought, because I was diagnosed with PTSD at the end of my career, And with all the praying and all that, God opened up the door for me to allow, to help the Castillos, and realizing that what they've gone through, talk about suffering, and it's like, and right now I was suffering as well at the time, and God put us together to share our experiences, and so the whole job was very fulfilling, very rewarding, knowing how God used all of us to spread His glory, and it was just fantastic.
You know, when you are given the opportunity to serve, sometimes you don't realize that you're going to get served as well.
There was a feeling of common camaraderie and common mission, and that mission is to me, and I think to those that I talked to, was a mission of giving out of faith, giving out of a sense of helping brothers and sisters in the community of faith.
Just having that fellowship time with Ed and with the Castillo family, and just their joy of having an opportunity to rise out of something that was a tragedy, and just seeing the joy in their eyes.
The last day that I was there, and it was like I was saying goodbye to Maria, and I asked Alex for a hug. And so when Alex hugged me, all of a sudden, for me, the room got really, really bright, and everything slowed down. And all of a sudden, it's like I'm looking at the floor. It's like I've seen this floor before. I'm looking at the countertops. I've seen this countertop before. I had a dream about 2 years ago after I retired, because I didn't know what God had planned for me outside of law enforcement. And it was like the dream that I had was in that moment, in the right time, right there. It was like, this is it. It was like just so overwhelming. And I told Maria at that time, I said, you're not going to believe this, but I've been here before, and I'm not talking about over the last 3 weeks, but in a dream I had 2 years ago, I was here, and everything is exactly the same. So it's just amazing how God works, and He makes you realize that, you know, it's on His watch, His time. He knows exactly what's best for us and when it's going to happen, and it might not be on our time, but He's always there by our side to help us. And for me to experience that is just another powerful thing that just reminds us that God is always there with us.
It was really a blessing and a privilege to be part of this process, to watch God at work. When we thought we had found the perfect house and our plans were thwarted, or our wishes were let down, God brought it back before us. And it's been such a fun thing to be part of finding the Castillo family a home.
I think it's easy to see houses and properties and buildings as possessions that are all sufficient. But the truth of the matter is there's nothing that's all sufficient except Christ, trust in the Lord and Father, and clinging to all His promises, and building relationships based on faith.
Again, when you're given the opportunity to serve and you realize that how much of a blessing you actually get in return, that's actual joy. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Castillo family, for giving me that opportunity to serve.
This house means the world to us. After everything we've lost, like restarting from scratch again, it just means the world to us. And we really appreciate everyone's help. Thank you so much.